Hello YouTube. So this is going to be a pretty special video. This is going to be obviously on the QuickTake 200. It is one of Apple's unique little devices that they came out with in the 90s. Apple, had some pretty unique things back in the 90s, like the Newton and the QuickTake, which is this particular camera, and a few other pretty different interesting things like eMate and other things like that. This is a digital camera. This is one of the first mass used digital cameras. Now this is the QuickTake 200, but there's also the QuickTake 100 and 150. So they are somewhat rare. They're kind of hard to find. So this camera came out in around 1996, about a year and a half before Steve came back to Apple. Once he came back, it was completely discontinued along with a lot of other Apple products, but it was one of the first, like I said, mass-produced cameras, and it was actually built, the QuickTime 200 was built by Fujitsu. I can't pronounce it correctly, but the electronic brand Fujitsu. The QuickTime 100 and 150 were built by Kodak, and they've got a completely different design, but you should be seeing a picture of it right now. And it did work on a computer. You take the images on the camera, of course. It's pretty much close to a modern camera. You take the pictures on the camera and then you just connect it to your Macintosh or Windows. There was support for both, but a lot of concerns about this camera back then was that it was very overpriced, and the reason that it was overpriced was because Apple did make it, and there's an exactly same camera like this. It's just that it's by Fujitsu, or I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but the brand is Fujitsu, and I'll put a picture of that in too. If you can see that now, the camera looks exactly like this one, except for it has a different brand name on it, and the color scheme is a little bit different. But Apple overpriced it just because its name was, because they had their Apple logo on it. But other than that, the other camera that I just showed you is the exact same thing with specifications. Only difference is the name and the logo. So the series started off in 1992 with the QuickTime 100. And these cameras, really compared to anything modern, would actually be about the picture quality of this first generation iPhone, which is actually my iPhone, or something a little bit higher than that. So the resolution of the pictures coming from this camera is 640 by 480, which is actually lower, or sorry about that, about bumping that, it's lower than this. So just to let you know, the camera is terrible on the first generation iPhone. It's terrible. So it is a very low-end camera. It still uses JPEG, but you can't connect it to anything modern because it uses the Apple serial port, which is completely obsolete now. The newest Mac that you'll find that on would be the Power Mac G3, but back in its day it was a very nice camera. Now as you can see here, you can see the Fujitsu name right here, and you can see the aperture right here and all that other stuff. It does look pretty much like a cell phone camera, just a little bit bigger, but you can see it has the old school Apple logo. But one of the things that's very interesting about it is that the memory card was either in 2 megabytes or 4 megabytes, which is nothing now. In this camera right now I have a 16 megabyte SD card in it, which is thousands of times more, or can hold way more memory than a 2 or 4 megabyte memory card, which you can see statistics about this stuff on the internet if you want, if you don't know what megabyte means. But if you do, you should know that it's incredibly small memory. Just to compare it to a song, usually a song on iTunes or on the internet, or if you have it on your computer, is about 8 megabytes. So about a good 5-minute long song is about 8 megabytes, 10 megabytes. So just to compare how small that actually is, I've taken pictures on here before, but I've never gotten them off the camera, obviously, because you can't I've attempted to do it before with my older Macs and stuff, but I just can't find the software for it. Of course, I demonstrated it to you, but the card format, since this was back in the 90s when nobody had smart media, or when nobody had SD cards or micro SD cards or memory sticks or anything like that, the standard back then was smart media cards, which is a very, very big card. I don't have a card with me, unfortunately. There's not one in this camera, but just to give you a comparison of somewhat, it's about 3.5 times bigger than a SD card, which is a really, really big card. It's very flat. It's way flatter than any modern memory card. It's just that it's really big. It's a really big square, and I should put a picture in there. I hope I can find one, but it is a very weird looking card. I'll just show you around the camera now. So QuickTime 200, obviously. On the side here, we've got this door here in the card, and I have a quarter right here. And just to show you here is a quarter, and don't worry, that's not going to fall in there. Just to compare that to you, there's a quarter. On the bottom, you've got the battery slot here, which you just pop that open. No rechargeable batteries, although there is a power cable for it, and I believe Apple did ship some rechargeable batteries with it, but they'd have to be the Apple ones. You can't just put regular Duracell rechargeable batteries in here. But it takes 4 AA's, obviously, and this thing just completely eats through batteries. You can leave it on for maybe 10 or 15 minutes and it'll take up a set of batteries. So this thing completely eats batteries. You can see here all the information. Right. You can see the serial number, the voltage output, which it takes 6 volts out of 4 AA's, which that's part of the reason why it sucks them up so much. We've got a tripod stand here, which is really nice, and right here for the screen brightness, we've got a screen dial thing, and then we've got some FCC information and other things like that. So very unique for the time period. Right here, and I'll just zoom out a little bit. Right here we've got this little flap door here, which has the input for a 6-volt plug, which I have around here somewhere, but it's just a regular power brick, and a video out for viewing on your TV set, and a digital out, which is to connect to the computer. And then on the top, which I'll zoom back in again, we've got trash, where you select the images that you want to delete. Lock, where you can lock the images so you can't delete them unless you're deleting them on the camera. Where you can view the pictures, and this is where you can view your last taken picture. Now these two items are pretty cool. They've got something behind them. Now this one here is to take lower quality pictures, which I believe is about in resolution wise, I think it's about 360 something times 360. I'm not sure. It's a lower quality image. They still look okay though, but they're obviously not as high quality. You can only take about 16 pictures with high quality, and only about 23 pictures with low quality. So that's it. That's all you can take, which now you can take thousands of pictures on one SD card. And then here we have the high quality setting. Not sure what this is. I think it has something to do with viewing the pictures on the computer or something. This is connected to the computer, I know that. This setting here. This is where you can just flip through the pictures and use that to set the time and go through settings and things like that. And then this is just your selector. But then here we've got the ISO, kind of, the shutter, how dark or how much light you want to let into the camera, which would be the ISO. So here we've got for sunny, it just closes the lens a little more, and then we've got for darker conditions. And pretty much close to any modern digital camera, just a little bit primitive. Close-up images, portraits, and lens are in far away. So flower, guy, and mountain, pretty self-explanatory. There is no manual focus. There's no auto ISO or auto picture. There's really nothing on this camera that's auto. I don't even think it has focus on it. They're not optical zoom. but it's still a pretty good lens for that time period. Everybody was still using film, so this was really the introduction to digital cameras. Now here's the back. Now what's really interesting here is that we've got a 1.5 by 1 inch screen, which is very, very tiny. Here's my thumb just to give you a example, and here's a quarter just to give you an example on how tiny this screen is. It is very little. Compared to this big camera, it's crazy holding. But we've got a nice rubber grip here to hold it when taking pictures. And then we've got that brightness thing I was telling you about. Right here is just another place to put your hand. And Apple, of course. And this is the power switch. You just slide it, and it comes on. So I'll just turn off the light now so you can see the screen better. Okay, so the camera is in PC mode right now. So, and there you can see it says no card, because there is no card in the camera right now. But we'll just switch to, okay, we'll just switch to record fine. And the lens are closed, so now I'll have to turn back on the light. So, if I just pick this up like this, and we'll just kind of follow this here. If I zoom out, and then I'll just focus it on the window. Or I've got to set the shutter or the ISO. There you go. So maybe you can see that, maybe not. This screen is really, the pixels are terrible on it. It's not really that good at all. This screen is very, very primitive LCD. I'm amazed that it actually still shows colors correctly. But just so you can see how you get somewhat of an idea here of how the camera works, I'll just take a picture right here. Or I can't actually, because there's no card in it, but you can kind of get the idea. It is pretty good view, or it is an okay screen for taking pictures. I mean, when I used to mess around with it and take pictures, I didn't have any problems with it. Obviously, there's no practical use for it anymore, but just to give you an idea. Now, if you have any questions on the QuickTake, please feel free to ask me. If you have one, there are some manuals and things that you can read on apple.com, believe it or not. It's just, you really have to look for it, because Apple tries to hide their older products for people to look at, because they don't really want their past to be on their website, if you know what I mean. But thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and